Hello, my fellow creative people. I am so excited to be starting this initiative. Welcome to Brightness Laughs Arts and Crafts. I will be officially starting in just a little bit, but I'm going to give you all a little bit of time to go ahead and join me here. If you are coming on, I would just like you to post an emoji that represents how you are feeling right now. So, as you are joining on, just, explain how you are feeling in any capacity, only using emojis. Okay? As we are waiting to get started, I'm just going to repeat what the supplies that you will need, just so you can grab those real quick. So, you're going to need some kind of paper. For mine, I literally just used old meal. Okay, so I'm not going to use this. I was going to throw it away, but it has a beautiful white back. So I'm just going to use this piece of paper. Okay. Also, you will need scissors. You're going to need glue or tape. If you have glue, use glue, but if you don't have glue, tape will work as well. Something to write with. Also, I didn't put this on the page, but if you want to have something circular that's going to fit on your page, so you can have a perfect circle. I know a lot of my students really enjoy perfect circles, so something to trace would be helpful. And then the last part, you're going to need just any kind of paper. As I was starting to collect for this project, I literally found tons of things, tons of kinds of paper that I'm not even using. And I could just be throwing it away. So I'm going to show you those pieces of paper right now, because there's literally tons of things you can use. Okay? First of all, junk mail. Totally, you can cut this out and you have this pretty blue. You can use the letters. There's lots of things you can do. It's like shiny. Okay? Also, I have a ton of cookbooks that I don't use, but they have these pretty pictures with colors that you can cut out from. Okay, so I have that. I have tons of magazines that I was just going to toss. But, yet again, lots of awesome printed material there. Another thing that you might not have thought about, using paper bags, grocery paper bags. That's definitely something you can use. Okay. Another thing, this thing you have to make sure you're getting permission from your family members, but if you want to go ahead and use paper from a book that your family members are okay with you tearing out of, go ahead and use a page from a book, okay? I'm all about tearing out pages. I know my book lovers are probably like inwardly screaming right now, but I think if you have a beautiful book, why not use it somehow in art? And then I have a bunch of scrap paper, just paper with like notes or even lined paper for schoolwork. You can use that because when you're cutting it out, it kind of looks like there's a pattern with the blue stripes. Something I don't have here that you can also use is a coloring page. Okay, so if you cut out from a coloring page, that's also an option as well. Okay? So something that I love about being able to do this with you guys, obviously I haven't been in school teaching art, and I've totally missed creating. So I'm really looking forward to this time together where we can create and remember that we are creative. Okay? We are going to be making creative courage collages. I'm all about having everything start with the same letter, so I did that on purpose. So, courage collages, okay? Here's the story behind those, all right? I was thinking about something that we could make together using all the materials, basic materials at your house that you have that could speak life as I teach my students in my class. to the neighbors around us. So a courage collage is a way to express hope to people who might be walking past your windows or walking past your doors. And something that an artwork, a collage, just to clarify, is when an artist will take printed material that's already there, maybe from a newspaper or a book, something that's already printed, and they'll cut it up and glue it and make a whole new artwork. And a lot of times collage artists also use other materials like paint or pencils, and they just have fun and add layer upon layer to their collages, okay? As I was thinking about this project, I was thinking about how daunting it can be. Hey, Jen! I'm so glad you and Michael and Malachi are here with us. So awesome. Is that the crisis of the coronavirus can be a little scary, especially thinking about all the different ways it affects people working, people at home alone. There's so many ways that people are feeling differently about it. And I was kind of like, wow, what's this going to do? Just saying laugh on my door. How's that going to help anybody? But something that I remembered is that when you're walking on the sidewalk and there's all this concrete everywhere, and you see like a little crack and there's maybe like a little flower that pops up in that crack, you get that like kind of like, it's like a little reminder of hope. You know, like that little flower popped up through the concrete. And not everyone's going to notice it. It's not flashy. It's not making noise or anything or saying anything, but it's like a whisper of hope. And that was kind of what the Lord kind of reminded me as I was doing this, is like, you know what? It might not speak to everybody, but maybe that one person that's walking by kind of gets uplifted by seeing these courage collages. So as you guys are making these and posting these somewhere where other people in your neighborhood can see, just remember that it might not speak to everybody and it might not be like a really big message, but it's a whisper of hope, okay? And that's how God speaks to people with nature, like little whispers of hope for nature. So just remember that, and remember that you are making a difference. All right, so we're going to get started. Go ahead and grab that piece of mail that you had originally, or some kind of white piece of paper, or just blank piece of paper. It doesn't have to be white, it can be any color. But just get your paper ready, and then go ahead and get your circle ready to trace. The reason why I'm adding a circle is because when you add some kind of circle or something that adds movement to your collage, it helps all of the design things come together, so that when you're looking at it, it adds more interest to your picture and it has more of an eye-catching effect. So that's why we're adding a circle, okay? So you're going to go ahead and just draw your circle. And now that we've kind of thought about our courage collage, I need you guys to come up with a word that's going to create your theme for your collage. And this word is going to be something that you want to speak into this crisis, okay? So let's say you have a neighbor who's living by themselves and they haven't seen anybody for weeks, and they are very afraid and very anxious and very scared. Or maybe you have another neighbor or someone who lives in your apartment complex who is working, and they are a nurse and they're constantly working, and they're also anxious because they are afraid they're going to get the virus, or they're going to bring it home to their family, and they don't get to see their family as much while everybody else gets to stay at home with their family. Okay, just two examples of what could be going on right now. I want you guys to think of one word that you could speak into that situation. What is one word that you could encourage somebody that might be looking for that whisper of hope? Okay, so think about that one word. I'll give you a little bit of time. And I want you to write it along the curve. Okay, I already picked mine, and I already started, but that's okay. When you're writing it, make sure it's nice and big, because you want to be able to see it from a far off distance, okay? And remember that it needs to be able to fit somehow in this circle. If you get it like a really long word, it might reach the ends and it just might not communicate it as well. So, yeah. Go ahead and get your word. All right, now that we have our word, this is one of the fun parts, okay? So, as we begin venturing into collaging, there are so many options, okay? As far as the letters go, there's 3 options that I'm going to show you. First of all, the one right here that I did is just using cutout squares and then going ahead and putting those right on top of the letters to make it more bold and noticeable. Okay, another thing that you can do that I did here, I did rectangles instead of squares, so I kind of molded it more to the letter. So that's another thing you can do. One more thing that you can do right off the bat, you can also look for letters that are in other printed materials and cut those out. So if I'm doing peace, I could maybe use this A and cut that A out and put it right here. Okay? Just remember that your letters need to be big enough to be able to be seen from a far off distance. All right? So go ahead and pick out one of your printed materials that you're going to be cutting up and start doing whatever method that you wanted to do to make your letters. Okay? Parts of these steps might seem a little tedious because I'm doing this with you, but that's kind of the fun part because we are doing art together. Even though we're not face to face, we get to work on our art together. So just put me on in the background and you guys create your beautiful masterpieces. I'm really looking forward to seeing these too. When you guys are done, I would love for you guys to post some pictures of what you have created. Something I like to think about too when I'm collaging is that I know some of my students, when I was thinking about these lessons, because I am posting this lesson for my students as well, some of my students don't have the art supplies that they might want to create different things like markers or crayons. But if you think about it, if you're looking at your materials and your printed materials that you picked out, you can kind of think of it as using paper to color your stuff instead of using markers, okay? So let's say that for all these letters, I want to just do blue. All I have to do is just find a bunch of papers that are blue. So these flowers are kind of like a lavender bluish purplish, okay? So I could pick that. I could find some other spots that are blue. And I could just use the colors that are already in this printed material to color the letters and create the masterpiece that I want, even though I don't have markers. Okay? So I kind of want you guys to think of it as painting with paper. Okay? You don't have to do squares either. You could do like triangles. That would look really cool. If you did triangles for your shapes to cover your letters. Another thing to think about as you're cutting out your pieces, you also want to make sure that you're not getting too sloppy. I know sometimes when I'm rushing, I just want to cut. But if you cut too fast, it's not going to be a square or rectangle anymore. And you want to make sure that your pieces still look a little bit congruent or like the same. But at the same time, don't feel like you have to make it look perfect, okay? That's one of the fun parts about collaging. There's some really messy, sloppy, famous collage artists that kind of go against the grain of what people think art is. And that's what I love, especially when I'm showing my students. I'm like, look, This guy is famous. For example, Jean-Michel Basquiat, he's famous, and his stuff is pretty messy, but that's his style. The whole point is just communicating the message, though, okay? So you can use your style as much as you want, as long as people can read what you're trying to say. If you guys want to use tape too, it is a little more tricky and you might need some help, but it's not impossible. So just like I lined up these pieces, let's pretend like I didn't glue them down. All you have to do is just make sure you line them up and then get a strip of tape and just go ahead and, oh, I'll cut that off. Get a strip of tape and put it right on top of those squares. You want to make sure to commit though. If you go in halfway and you're like, nope, it's gonna mess it up. So you gotta just be like, all right, I'm committing, and just slap it on, okay? All right, I got 2 more letters. If you guys came up with your word, go ahead and put it in the comments what word you picked. I would love to hear what kind of words you guys decided on. Something else you could do as well, you could also tear these into little pieces. It might be a little bit more messy, but like I said, as long as you can communicate the message that you're trying to send, that might be another fun method you could do. Just like rip up pieces and put them in a certain order to make your letters. If you guys are using Elmer's glue, something that I have my students do is instead of like squirting out of the bottle, sometimes you don't have as much control and it can be more messy. I just put it in a bowl and I use a paintbrush to apply it so that you have a lot more control. So if you guys are using Elmer's glue, that might be a fun little tip that will help you. All right, painting with paper. Look at that. We are recycling, we are reusing, we are recreating. That's redemptive in and of itself. You guys are great. All right, I have one more to do. You guys didn't post your words. I want to hear what words you guys picked. This is a nice blue. This is like my favorite color right here, aqua. I just want to give a shout out to Samuel because he worked really hard to help me get this technology set up. So we got a mic stand holding the iPad, a whole rigged up system so that this would work way better than what I did. When I was filming for my class, I was in the middle of the video and the camera just like fell on the table. So yeah, he was a huge help. Wow, this E turned out way better than that C did, huh? Okay. I think when you use smaller, oh, I love that Malachi is doing happy. That's perfect. Ooh, I can't wait to see it. When you do smaller squares, I think that does kind of help the letter turn out better. Okay, so as we are starting to get ready for the next phase of these masterpieces, we have to start brainstorming about how we are going to continue to communicate this message. Okay, so I'm going to show you the examples that I did. For this one, this is like one of the most basic ones. When I was thinking about the word laugh, I was thinking about, you know what, if I had waffles with ice cream for breakfast, I would probably laugh. So that's why I put that on there. Okay? But you're just going to pick out some pictures that help communicate your idea. Okay? If you just have printed materials that are without pictures, that is not an issue. So like right here, this was just an index card that I used different color of paper with to make the eraser, and obviously that's aluminum foil. You can create different kinds of pictures with blank kinds of paper. Okay, so like for example, I could cut out a heart. I could cut out a dove or a flower. Okay, so if you have those kinds of materials, go ahead and kind of start brainstorming about how you want to emphasize your theme. For mine, the idea of peace, I am going to, let's see. Oh, one more thing. Sorry, I forgot. Another thing that you can do, something that I did here, I used my printed materials, but I made different shapes out of them instead. So I could cut a dove out of something that's already printed. Even like these really cool flowers right here, that would be awesome if I drew a dove and cut it out. I think I'm going to do that, even though they're flowers. So I'm just going to draw it right on here. Just a quick dove. That would be awesome if I can find a picture of somebody closing their eyes or smiling or something. I'll look for that. I bet Malachi could find a bunch of stuff for the word happy. Okay. I also want to give a shout out to my mom. She's the one that helped me come up with this project. It was a great idea. My dove looks a little fat. Hold on, let me adjust it real quick. And make his neck a little skinnier. There we go. Okay. As you are placing your items on your collage, remember to follow the curve of the circle that you created at the beginning, because remember, we want to add interest to our collage, and adding movement will help that and make it more eye-catching. Okay? Let's see what kind of people photos that I can find. This one's from the library, this printed material. So there's some really cool ones of people interacting here. I also found these books. They're actually from Dollar Tree. And even though I might not use the words, I can still use like the patterns here that are kind of cool. Another idea that you could do is you can get the same word like piece, and I could look for the word piece in different materials and cut out the word piece over and over again, so it's just like emphasized even more. Something else that I did here, you can get a picture and then cut it out in different shapes. So I could have just slapped a piano on there, but I thought it would be cool to cut it up into different triangles and place them around the curve, okay? And then have this guy behind it. Another thing you can do is layer your pictures. So I have a fork on top of a pencil, on top of a girl, on top of a flower. This allows the picture to have depth, okay? So that's another option you can do. There's so many things you can do with collaging. It's really cool when you start thinking about how you can layer things. Another cool thing that you can do is cut out a bunch of pictures to begin with instead of putting it on right away. And then you can figure out how they interact with each other. So for example, maybe I'll cut out one of these flowers so I can have some more flowers on mine, because flowers are peaceful. And it's blue, so it matches the word peace. And then I can find maybe a person to go along with it. Let's see what we can find. Ooh, you know what? There's instruments in here. Instruments are peaceful, right? Well, they can be peaceful, I should say. What if I find a cool, like one of these acoustic guitars? Nice. Remember that when you're cutting out, make sure to take your time, like I said before, with the squares. If you spend your whole time just being like, I want to get this and that and this, and I'm just cutting, that might not look as appealing. So make sure to take your time as you are cutting out your pictures. It also helps communicate your idea better when you take your time. Okay, so I'm going to take my time and cut this guitar out. This peaceful guitar. I really appreciate you guys joining me and just creating with me. Like I said, we're not face to face, but we get to create at the same time across the globe. Alright, so we're going to figure out how this guitar is going to interact with the flower. Dun dun dun. And possibly the dove. While still following the curve. So, let's see what we can do. What if we kind of place the guitar on the side? It can go off the page a little bit, that's fine. And then, let's see. If I put it up here, you're not going to be able to see the dove, right? Probably not a good idea. What if I cut this up into strips? Okay? And I place it in this corner following the curve. Ooh. So many ideas. Another fun idea that you could probably do is, let me take this guitar. Tara. You could try this, but use a poster board and make it even bigger. And instead of just one word, maybe you could do like a verse or an encouraging phrase. Okay. And then just put the guitar on top. Fun. Cool. I like that. I think I want to add some clouds to the top too. Let's see if I can find like a light blue. Ooh, look at this book. It kind of has like these cool plants. Maybe I should add that too, because it has the blue. I'm seeing a theme. Okay. Oops. There we go. All right, and then some clouds. Let's see. Check out these pancakes. Maybe I'll cut some clouds out of this pancake picture. Got me some clouds. Yeah, so it kind of represents like there's a storm, but you can still have peace in the storm. Oh, I mean, that's if people are actually reading into my collage. And when I say people, I mean the mailman, because that's pretty much one of the few people who gets that close enough to my door. But hey, remember what we said, whispers of hope. Okay, so I'm going to call it quits right now. There's probably still a lot more I could add. One more thing that you can do is if you, like I said, have materials that are not printed, it's just blank colored pieces of paper or just white or lined paper, you can cut out shapes like we said before, rectangles, squares, triangles, and like what I did here, I just filled up the space with squares. So you can just follow the curve like we talked about and just fill the rest of the space up with shapes. So if you want to do that as well, like, oh wow, I just ripped off my wing. No, you have to have a peaceful dove with a wing. There we go. Okay. All right, so if I wanted to, I could fill it up even more to add more color and make it, fill it up with shapes. Okay? So we have our Courage collage to share with the world, a whisper of hope. I am looking forward to seeing what you guys post on the Brightness Labs page of your beautiful creations. Thank you again for joining me today. I really enjoyed this, and I will actually be posting another video, a Facebook Live video, I'm going to say on Friday at 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. Okay? And what we're going to be making on Friday, we're going to be making pop-out cards or books. So when you read a book and it has like the picture or the character that pops out, I will be showing you how to make that, and I'll be posting a picture of what that looks like on the Brightness Labs page. So thanks for joining me, my fellow creative people. and I will see you later on this week.